So, it's been a pretty good year for Super INT. Lots of good free-to-play units, some strong Dokkan Fest, and some new awakenings, and today, we're sorting all these units into 7 tiers. But before we get started, this is part of my project to set up an updated tier list for every type by the end of 2020. I'll be keeping them up to date as we get new units, and the Super Tech video just got its first update with Candy Vegito's EZA. So hopefully I'll be able to keep that up in the future, and this will be useful for you all throughout 2021. Now, let's hop into it. So, I'm covering every single Super INT Dokkan Fest LR and any Super INT units that released or got an awakening in 2020. Tiers 1 to 4 are all good units, but different levels of good, and you may see some differences from my top 10 video just due to how the tiers are classified. So tier 1 are the balanced units, the ones that are just really good. Honestly, close to perfect, not just at what they do, but in general. They don't really have any big weaknesses, or the weaknesses they have no effect on how they're used. And these are ideally the cards that are most well-rounded and versatile. And as a quick reminder, the units within a tier are in no particular order. So without transforming, LR Vegito is a balanced unit with a lot of categories and a great leader skill. No huge weaknesses outside of that transformation condition taking forever, however his transformation acts as a nice little bonus in the longer events. Future Gohan is versatile, offering either support or great damage depending on how you build your team. Either way, he's pretty darn tanky. He does require Master and Disciple allies, but that's a wide enough category that you can make it work, especially since he acts as the leader for that team anyway. So LR God Goku is really great for the first 7 turns since he gets a 50% chance to dodge and a 50% chance to crit. However, people tend to discount him a little bit after that when he's actually not nearly as defensively weak as people say. As long as you let him get off a super attack before he gets hit, his LR stats and a super attack defense boost will be enough for him to tank decently well. He's not a brick wall, but he's certainly not a glass cannon. And I talked about this one in my top 10 video, but World Tournament Gohan's Awakening is very good. Most of his boosts are calculated separately, so he gets an insane attack boost from his passive, and he offers a little bit of support as a nice little cherry on top. No real obvious weaknesses, so he ends up in tier 1. Super Saiyan 2 Angel Goku is honestly just fantastic. His leader skill is not the best, and his transformation condition is annoying, but he's still really great. All he needs is 3 orbs to activate his passive, and you'll see him doing some pretty respectable damage. And transforming Gotenks goes from pretty good to absolutely amazing in his Super Saiyan form based on the RNG. His weakness is that his base form is honestly not great, but you're only in that form for 1 turn, so it doesn't really matter. It's difficult to get into his Super Saiyan 3 form, but you don't really need that for shorter content. Tier 2 consists of units that are still really good, but have 1 or 2 big weaknesses that don't necessarily limit their use, but are things that keep them from being 10 out of 10 well-rounded units. So this INT Super Saiyan Goten is excellent with his damage reduction and high attack boost, but he does need to be paired with a Trunks or a Krillin unit, so that keeps him from being a perfect unit for me. The rotation with him and Tech Trunks is awesome though, and I highly recommend it. LRGT Trio are really good, presuming that they super attack before getting hit. They're able to pretty consistently get their 18 key off if you have a lot of Dragon Ball Seeker units on the team, and that category has a lot of free to play options. Unfortunately, they only have 2 categories, and that keeps them stuck in tier 2 for me. Kid Goku starts off strong and gets stronger. His categories aren't top tier, but they're decent. He ends up in tier 2 because he does take quite a while to build up, and his links are a little bit restrictive. Free-to-play Rosie is similar to the INT Goten in the way that they both need a specific linking partner, but the rotation they make is amazing. Rosie does her best with AGL Kakunsta since they both stack a stat and get bonuses when attacking together. She's great in long-form content and does offer some decent ceiling for Super Battle Road. EZA Blue Vegeta is great in Super Battle Road. Passive debuffing to all enemies, a high chance to stun extreme enemies, but he also offers defensive support for Realm of Gods allies and some pretty decent offense for other modes. The unfortunate problems for him are that he's a little bit too weak defensively without the debuffing, and he shares the same name as many other Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta units. The type support Gohan is an amazing support, giving 50% to Super INT allies and orb changing. The issue is that, unlike the tech type supports, he doesn't really bring much else to the table. Vados has the opposite issue. She brings a lot to the table while having a little bit more limited support. While the units she gives 60% support really do appreciate it, it's a little bit too limited of a list to bring her up to tier 1. And tier 3 are units that are good but are limited by 1 or more major weaknesses. EZA Trunks, the Dokkan Fest one, has the nuker issue where his stats are entirely dependent on how many orbs you get. He needs at least 6 to have the standard 120% attack and defense that a lot of other units get. He does change orbs, but that's a little inconsistent. He'll be a great orb changer versus Realm of Gods enemies, but only okay otherwise. So the thing about this LR Goku is that if you have all the conditions active in his passive, he is a really good support and pretty darn strong. The problem is to get the maximum amount of support, you need to be under 60% HP, which is not a great position to be in. Then, to get his amazing 59% innate crit chance, he has to be on rotation with a Gohan Kid unit, of which there are only 4 decent ones. That being said, the physical LR Gohan Kid is a really good partner after his EZA, but we'll save all that for the Super Fizz video. The other issue with this is that the Goku only has 2 categories. If all of his conditions were active unconditionally, he would absolutely be a tier 1 unit. But the categories issue compounded with the conditions you have to have keep him limited for me. LR Team Bardock is a really good support for Team Bardock units, and normally that would keep him in tier 4 like LR Ginyu. However, unlike Tech Ginyu, Team Bardock actually has a good handful of decent links for Saiyan teams. Obviously, he wouldn't be the optimal support, but he's able to find a few more places where he can be useful, and that actually keeps him out of tier 4 for me. And speaking of Bardock units, Super Saiyan 3 Bardock lands in this tier for me too. His support and his ceiling are unreliable, and when the support isn't active, Bardock is just kind of okay. However, when the support part of his passive is active, it's calculated separately for Bardock himself, and you end up seeing him doing pretty decently. So while he's good, he's limited by the need to be under 70% HP to get his support working. Transformation Ribrianne is actually really great for Super Battle Road if you have a couple of Peppy Gals on your team. Honestly, just the more Peppy Gals you include, the better she'll be. She gets to seal super attacks, but also debuffs all enemies up to 30% depending on how many Peppy Gals units you have. She also supports Peppy Gals allies, but unfortunately, outside of Peppy Gals and the Universe Survival Saga Super Battle Road stages, she isn't really able to reach her full potential. Whenever we get Peppy Gal's Extreme Super Battle Road or a proper leader for the category, she's going to find a lot more use there. This EZA for Super Saiyan 3 Goku is strong in both of his forms. However, 5 out of his 7 links change between forms, which makes team building for him a little bit awkward. So congratulations Goku, you played yourself. I love this Topo. He supports Universe 11 allies, he gets guaranteed guard if one is on rotation with him, he gets 220% attack and defense if you have 3 or more Universe 11 allies on the team. The issue is that there are only currently 6 total units for that category. So let's hope 2021 brings more units to the Universe 11 category so Topo can really show us what he can do. UI Goku is still good offensively, and I hate to rehash this criticism because everyone makes this, but I'm going to because it's accurate. He has no defense when he transforms, so he relies on that 70% dodge chance. Unfortunately, he's not quite strong enough to justify being that much of a glass cannon, so he falls a little bit flat. And speaking of units with no defense, LR Gohan is great offensively, but he has no defense at all. He doesn't start with any defense boosts in his passive. He can't raise it with super attacks. Nothing. Just his base stats and the leader skill. Unfortunately, in a meta where defense really does matter for a lot of content, that's a huge weakness. That being said, he is quite a good nuker, but attack is unfortunately not everything when your defense is actually paper. And EZA Ghost Tanks is a really great free-to-play unit. His stunning and healing is really nice, and he hits alright numbers. He's just got the nuker issue. Not quite high enough stun chance, and a reliance on the amount of orbs he gets keeps him a little bit limited. And tier 4 are the niche units. These are units that are good in certain modes or for very specific teams. So World Tournament Caulifla is a worse version of Tech Caulifla. She needs a full Universe 6 team just to get a decent attack and defense boost in her passive. She only has a 50% chance to dodge, which is nothing when you compare it to a unit with guaranteed or 80% dodge depending on the enemy. Her additional attack is guaranteed to be a super if you have a Kale on the rotation, as opposed to Tech Caulifla's 25% chance to do the same thing, but it's not quite enough to make up for the difference in dodge. Plus, she's also a lot less accessible. Once she gets her awakening, she's going to be much better, but for now, she's in tier 4. Super Saiyan 2 Kale is a great support for Universe Survival Saga teams with a Caulifla unit. She'll provide 40% to any rotation with a Caulifla. Unfortunately, she is pretty frail and not very strong offensively. She fits that supportive niche for a very specific team, but is otherwise not very good. Supreme Kai and Kibito are gods in Super Battle Road, and I guess also in general, but you know what I mean. The issue is that their entire kit doesn't work for most modes and their links are not good. So while they are must-brings to Super Battle Road stages where they're applicable, they just aren't very good in other places. And Tier 5 units are honestly just kinda bad. You can use them if you have to, but they really aren't preferable anywhere. Int Vasha is just kinda eh. She's got low defense, she has a 50% dodge chance and debuffs enemies on super, so that's gonna be helpful in a Team Bardock Super Battle Road, but that's not a thing yet. Free to play Gotenks is just kinda mediocre. He's got a small chance to do an additional attack, but that's kind of it. He's not garbage, but he's not really that good. Free to play Ultimate Gohan stacks his attack, has a 50% chance to launch an additional attack with another Goku's family unit, and offers 10% support to Goku's family allies, but he just doesn't really fit on the Goku's family team since there are so many better options. He's very usable if you need a filler unit, but that's kind of all he can do. Free to play transforming Great Saiyaman has debuffing on his super attack, crit, and dodge. Unfortunately, his crit and dodge chance is only 10% when facing an extreme type enemy, and he gets sealed versus Peppy Gals and youth units. It's like he's a really good meal, but you only get one bite of everything and kind of a nice drink, and if the chef is a woman or a child, you're going to get stabbed. It's pretty much a bad situation all around. April Fool's Bulma is pretty decent when paired with a Goku youth unit, but is very mediocre if not. She has a good dodge chance, but just iffy stats. Trollhan got an EZA earlier this year and it was just okay. Not that great, not that bad, just okay. This World Tournament Trunks is also kind of just okay. He changes orbs and offers okay support for movie heroes' allies, but he's stuck with SSR stats and a low chance to dodge and stun. And this Trunks is also mediocre. He's not awful, but with a little bit of stacking and support, he's still only hitting between 1.5 and 2 million. And Gogeta is still decently strong, but actually has no defense. You know how LR Gohan has no defense? Gogeta, also no defense. He's certainly going to get better after his EZA, but as of now, STR Super Gogeta, who you can get for free with red stones, is better than him. And Tier 6 is the place where we stick the stinky bad units that are actually garbage. Like Xeno Gohanks, who starts off pretty weak and gains attack and defense with each super until he finally gets up to 150% attack and defense. He doesn't have an awakening, so he's stuck with SSR stats, and honestly, this ain't it, Gohanks. This Trunks is decent filler in niche situations, like when he faced 2 or more android units, but even then, he's not that great. Outside of that, he's just bad. Oh boy, this Ultimate Gohan got his EZA in 2018 and he is really bad. If you have at least 7 ki, which granted is pretty easy to achieve, he gets a grand total of 40% defense. Well, he must have amazing offense, like a glass cannon. But honey, look what tier we're in. He has 80% attack. This new INT Super Saiyan Goku is great because it gives us a farmable Super Saiyan God Goku. Unfortunately, he needs to be getting 5 Ki Spheres and facing a Realm of Gods enemy to be barely hitting over 1 million. Not a great look, Goku. And Tier 7 is the meme tier. This is reserved for units that have ascended from the ranks of garbage to rise above all the other units. LR Piccolo, for example, is without a doubt the worst LR in the game, which is a huge shame because he has such good art. He has no attack and a flat 10,000 defense instead of any sort of percentage boost. But hey, if you can no-item a Super Battle Road stage with just this Piccolo, you ascend into godhood and leave your mortal worries behind, so, you know, it's a decent trade-off there. And finally, we have Victory Goku, who is actually decently stronger than the Vegeta. With level 10 links, he can hit 1 million without support, but that's still not very good in the grand scheme of things. But this Goku art looks really happy, and a smile is worth 1,000 units. Alright friends, I hope that helped, and make sure to check back whenever a new Super INT unit is released. I'll be doing my best to keep a pinned comment up to date whenever we get something new, and don't forget to subscribe for more Dokkan content, and I'll see you all Wednesday with the top 10 Extreme INT units. Goodbye.